What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Wilson Dittman Sports here on YouTube, where we talk about everything related to basketball, whether that's recruiting, whether that's staff, whether that's players, right here on this channel. So if you like the content, please hit a like and maybe even subscribe. But let's get this video started. We have a little bit of a different video today. Usually we're just breaking down commits, breaking down the team and whatnot. But today, heading into the summer, heading into the offseason, we're going to make a case for the Kool-Aid, right? Should you drink the Kool-Aid? Should you not drink the Kool-Aid? Like, here you go. This is your video to really decide for yourself. Are you going to take that step? Are you going to be that guy? How much Kool-Aid are you going to drink? And is that the right decision? So I want to start this video off just talking about Matt Rhule and some optimism for Rhule, but at the same time, there's some concerns. And some of them I've noted before. I know, let's start off with this. Right now, we're going into his first year. Usually when there's a coach going into his first year, everyone kind of thinks he's a perfect coach. And this is the same thing going on right now. Everyone's so optimistic for Rhule. And nobody kind of understands that he is a flawed coach. You know, if he was an A-plus coach, he would not be at the University of Nebraska right now. He is a flawed coach. You know, there are things about him that are not awesome. And we're going to talk about him coming up here. So I think we have to realize that before anything. Like, this is not, we didn't get a home run hire. And we should remember that when we initially hired him, most of the consensus among the fan base was that this was a B hire. That was, obviously that changed now, and everyone's kind of like, drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. And if you were to ask fans, they'd say it's an A hire right now because, see him going to recruiting and going to work and talking and all that. And they've drunk a little bit of that Kool-Aid, but he is a flawed coach. So I think it's good to start off there, just kind of to assess that, to realize that. And let's just dive into what I like about Rhule and then what I think we need to, consider for Rhule and watch out for in year one. And then we should assess the Kool-Aid based off of that. So, starting off with Rhule, as we know, as we talked about, development. It's good and there's bad. The good part about that is it's a high floor. Right? It's a high floor. It means that when you're a developmental head coach and you're focused around that, the odds you don't work out are very low. They're low comparatively to a guy like maybe even Scott Frost, who was not a developmental coach. He was a kind of a boomer bust coach. That was the way he was. High ceiling, low floor. But the thing about Rhule, he has a high floor, kind of a low ceiling though. That's my concern for Rhule, but that's not really a concern. That's not a concern, the fact that he's a low ceiling, because we're not focused on that right now. But that's the optimism for Rhule, is that there is a high floor. However, usually when you're a developmental coach, it takes a little bit to get there, right? Your developmental coach aren't the guy who are going to get 5 stars saying they get on campus. He's not the guy who's just going to be super aggressive in the transfer portal. We've seen that already. He's got guys in the portal, and he has been bringing on 4 or 5 stars on campus. He hasn't bagged any of them yet, but it's going to take a little bit to work out for Rhule, and I think that needs to be noted. Like, Nebraska isn't going to come out here. I want to pull up our schedule just for later here, but Nebraska isn't going to come out and win 8 games this year. It's just not going to happen. We haven't won 6 games since 2016. We're not going to go up there and win 8 games this year. Not happening. And that's just the way it's going to work with Rhule. Is that it's going to take a little bit of time. So that is a little bit of a concern for Rhule. One of the other piece of optimism is that he's a culture guy. He's a guy who is really going to reshape this culture, and he's a guy who's already doing that right now. Whether that's with the players, whether that's with the staff, and holding everybody accountable from the top down. He's a guy who's going to change the culture, which is, he inherited a terrible culture with Scott Frost. Terrible culture. But at the same time, there's a little bit of concern for him just when it comes to, sustaining that for the long term, being here for the long term. I don't know if Rhule sticks around here till retirement. I don't know if that's the case. I could say that for Frost. I could say that for Mike Riley. I could say that for Bo Pelini, probably. I could say that they're going to stick around until retirement. I don't know about Rhule. Rhule is still a young guy. I believe he's in his 40s, late 40s. Let's look at something. It might be early 50s. Let's look this up. Yep. 48 years old. He still has 25 years of coaching left. Honestly, I don't think he'll stick around if this, in a successful scenario. So that's a little bit of concern. Another concern for him is his game managing. So he was a really good game manager coach in college, and then it just all went and crapped the bed when he was in the NFL. There's a stat out there that he playing with the Panthers, he was like 1-19 in one-score games going into the fourth quarter. Like, ridiculous. Like, it was something like that. And then there was another one where he was 0-18 when an opponent in the NFL scored more than 18 points. Like, that's terrible. That's awful. But at the same time, there's a bunch of really good game managing statistics when he was at Baylor, when he was at Temple. He won 30 straight games leading, going into the fourth quarter, something like that. So that's, concern and optimism. He was really good in college, really bad in the NFL, and hopefully he reverts back to his college form. I just think we need to kind of put those, the concerns for him and the reason for optimism on the table for Rule. But we have to realize this: he's not a perfect coach. He's not a perfect game manager coach, and he's going to make mistakes. I know it's really easy to wrap ourselves around the narrative that he's perfect because we've never seen him coach a real game here yet. But let's kind of assess the fact that he is a B coach. He's not an A-plus coach. If he was an A-plus coach, he would not be here right now. He would still be with the Carolina Panthers, or he would have won so well at Baylor that he would have never left Baylor. He's not an A-plus coach. He's a B coach. And that's not a bad thing by any means, but it's good to kind of realize that before you let the Kool-Aid flow, because I know a lot of people, the reason why they're drinking the Kool-Aid right now for this season is the fact that they think Rule is the perfect coach. And they think that Rule is going to lead us to the promised land and be the perfect game manager, be the perfect developmental. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. I'm a Rule fan. I love Rule. Do not think for a second that because I put him in a B coach, I don't like Rule. I love Rule. And I think Rule's going to work out here. But at the same time, I realize you're going to have to trust the process right now. Especially for a guy like Rule who's not going to be aggressive about this. He's going to go old school, for better or worse. He's going to go old school when developing this program. So I'm not expecting big results in year one. So that's kind of the first thing to assess when you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Second thing is the players. And this roster, I say, is middle of the pack talent-wise, just kind of the way we've been in the Frost era. We didn't really add a bunch of talent. We didn't lose a bunch of talent this year. The talent screams 7 wins. That's what it screams to me. At times, we've had talent that screams more than that. At times, we've had talent that screams less than that. Right now, it screams 7 wins. It's not a great roster. It really isn't. It isn't a great roster. There's a lot of holes on this roster when it comes down to D-line, O-line. I think linebacker could be a hole just due to inexperience. Tight end's a big hole. There are some holes in this roster. There really are. If everything goes right, like talent, just from a pure talent perspective, if everything goes right, this is an 8-win team. If everything goes wrong talent-wise, this could be like a 4-win team. And that's only talent-wise, and that has nothing to do with schedule. But I just think that's kind of interesting to consider. And the last thing that really contributes to Kool-Aid is the schedule. And assessing the schedule and really breaking that down. It's kind of a tough schedule, man. It really is. I don't like starting with Minnesota, and I've talked about that before. I think that's a trap game. I think Minnesota has struggled this offseason. They have struggled mightily this offseason. They've lost so much talent. So if there's any time to get Minnesota, it's right now. But just going up there, playing at Minnesota week 1, first real game for Matt Rule, that'll be brutal. I really like our non-cons. We've had some hard non-cons in the past with Oklahoma, Miami, et cetera, but Colorado is a good non-con. They're not good right now, and Deion Sanders is not a good game manager, head coach. So hopefully they'll win those non-cons. But when we look at our East crossover games, you got Michigan, you got Michigan State, you got Maryland. Those are not easy games. All 3 of those teams are bowl teams. Maryland, it's time that you stop sleeping on Maryland. Maryland, under Mike Locksley, has become a sleeping giant. I don't mean that by saying that they're a sleeping giant, that they're going to win the East or they're going to, win 10 games, but they're consistently winning 7-8 games. And they're consistently winning bowl games. Like, this is a good team. This is a good Maryland team. That is not a game you pencil in when you get your schedule and pencil as a W. At least not right away. But you do play that game at home, which is a good sign. But it is a tough, it is a tough schedule. Like, if I'm going through it right now, and I'm just going to go off the dome, based on talent. This is only talent. This has nothing to do with coaching. This has nothing to do with where you're at, whether it's home or away. I'm just going to go off the dome. Minnesota's a loss. I think they're more talented than us. I'll take Colorado as a win. I'll take Northern Illinois as a win. I'll take Louisiana Tech as a win. That's 3 wins. We lose to Michigan. We lose to Illinois. We beat Northwestern. 4 wins. I think we beat Purdue just based on talent. And Purdue is going to be a hot mess this year with Ryan Walters and all that. And I think we win. Michigan State, we lose. Maryland, we lose. Wisconsin, we lose. And Iowa, I think we win. Right there, that's 6 wins. And I stretched it a little bit with Iowa. I think, honestly, Iowa's more talented than we are. I do think that. They, first round picks every year, man. They got another first round pick coming next year with Cooper DeJean. So, just from a talent perspective, 6 wins. Could be 5. So we're not a more talented team than a lot of these. In Michigan State, it was a tough one. Michigan State's not very talented, but they're kind of in a similar situation to us in the past, where with Frost was that I think they are talented. It's just that they're not very well coached. Mel Tucker is bringing them down a little bit, but they have a bunch of 4 stars on campus. So yeah, I think from a talent perspective, they are more talented than us. Now, more not predictive. Let's go through the roster. I still think we lose to Minnesota as of right now. Same 3. We win all our non-cons. We lose to Michigan. We lose to Illinois. We beat Northwestern. So everything's the same right now. I think we do lose to Purdue, though. I do. And I think we beat Michigan State, though. I think we swapped those. So we're still at 5 wins right now, going in the last 3. I do think we lose to Maryland at home. I do think we lose to Wisconsin at Wisconsin, and I think we lose to Iowa. I think it's 5 wins right now, man. I really do. I really think it's 5 wins. So, and that's just going off everything. It's a tough schedule. It really is. It's not going to be easy. The non-cons are nice. But just from a Big Ten standpoint, it's not an easy schedule. So you definitely got to assess that before you drink the Kool-Aid. Now let's transition. And let's talk about what drinking the Kool-Aid means for you. I am not against drinking the Kool-Aid. The last thing, I want is people to think I'm against drinking the Kool-Aid. But I'm also against people who come in here and come in my comments and say, well, why are you guys so pessimistic? It means nothing. You gotta be optimistic, support the guys. No. Let people be fans when they how they want to be fans. Sometimes the people who are pessimistic are correct, and they say the things that need to be said. The truth hurts sometimes. It really does. A lot of the people who were pessimistic about Frost were right. They were right, and they said the hard things that needed to be said, and they turned out to be right. So I don't and a lot of times it's the optimistic people coming at the pessimistic people. They're saying, oh, why are you so pessimistic? You're a fake fan. No. And so that pessimistic people are talking to the optimistic people. Don't be that either. Don't say, oh, you're so optimistic. We haven't done anything to show that. Let people be a fan the way they want to be a fan. But at the same time, let's not be delusional here. I do not support delusional fans. And I don't support people, coming in here and saying we're winning 10 games this year. That's ridiculous to me. I love it. I like the confidence. I'm not going to tell you how to be a fan. I'm not going to tell you what to believe and what not to believe. But at the same time, you got to realize what's at stake, what we've done the last couple years, which has not been much, and you got to be rational. And the rational take right now, just from a Kool-Aid perspective, is at most 7 wins. And from a pessimistic standpoint, I could see as low as 3 wins. I really could. Like, I could see us lose to Minnesota. I could see us lose to Colorado easily. I could see that happen, man. You know, playing in Boulder, their first home game, I could see it happen. I really could. And remember, we lost both times to Colorado in 2018 and 2019. You know, this is not a team we've had success against. So I could see us at worst winning 3 games. And I think that'd be, honestly, a predictable outcome. That could very well happen. Or I could see us winning 7 games. I also think that could very well happen. 3 to 7 is the way you want to go. So just assessing the Kool-Aid from that standpoint, it just depends on what you consider Kool-Aid. Don't be one of those guys who drinks the Kool-Aid and expects 8 wins. And I know there's going to be a lot of hype this offseason. There really will be. I think that's why it's really important to bring out this video right now, right before the summer, because the summer is when the Kool-Aid, everyone's begging for college football. They're reading all the preview magazines, and then all the Nebraska fans get together like, oh my goodness, we might be good this year. And then the Kool-Aid flows and it gets out of control by mid-July to the point where people are predicting 8, 9, 10 wins. And we're sitting here, the people who predicted 5 wins like, holy cow, what's going on? So I think it's important to kind of bring this video out here right now to tell everybody, let's chillax. Let's look at the schedule. Let's understand, where Rule is and what's realistic. And what's realistic is 5 wins. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. We won 4 games last year. 5 wins right now would show a lot of growth. I just want to see growth. I want to see growth. I want to see good game management. I want to see a coach who knows what he's doing. I want to see players who want to play. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for wins, man. Not this year. Obviously I am. I have a benchmark. I want 5 wins. That's my benchmark. If we get anything below 5 wins, I think it's a little bit of a problem. But if we show good development and we win 4 games, it won't be a big deal. So, yeah, that's really the benchmark for year 1. It's not wins. It's just seeing those small little details that indicate good coaching and a good future. So, let's just wrap this up. To drink the Kool-Aid or to not drink the Kool-Aid? I say drink the Kool-Aid, but drink it in moderation. Don't be one of those guys who starts to predict 8, 9, 10 wins. Don't be one of those guys. I'm not going to tell you to be a fan. You can do it if you want. But I don't think it's smart. I don't think it's smart. I think we have to understand the rules as a solid coach. He's not a perfect head coach. And he's not going to come in here and be perfect from the bat. And we can't expect that. That's unfair of us as fans to expect a first-year head coach to be perfect right off the gate. That's unfair to him. Let's not be unfair to Matt Rule right now, guys. Let's not be unfair to him. I think this is going to be a very successful year. I think 5 or 6 wins, and I think that'll be successful. I really do. But you just got to trust the process, trust Rule. Drink slow, or not drink at all, and you're not going to get hurt, and you're going to be, fully rational going into the season. I don't think that's a bad thing, but to drink or to not drink the Kool-Aid, thank you guys for joining. It's a little bit of a short episode here, but I just kind of want to quickly assess that and, drink in moderation, everybody. But as always, go big red. Can't wait for the season. I have so much content planned for the summer, man. Breaking down the roster, breaking down our opponents one by one. It's going to be so much fun. I get out of school in 2 weeks, so I'll, have some more time to make this content for you guys. But can't wait. Maybe I will be a huge Kool-Aid drinker in 2 months. You never know. But as always, go big red, everybody. Thank you guys all for watching.